Listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All right, you are listening to Jesse from Jesse's POV. Now, if you've been listening to the debates, you know we have a debate roundtable tonight. And I've got a whole host of people joining me tonight. And I'm going to say around the horn, starting with Susan and then Bryce. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves? So, Bryce is the first time joining us. Susan's a repeat guest, and thank you very much. And then we've got Bill, a.k.a. Defend Wall Street, and Dan Wright of Robinson and Wright. And, of course, Rick from America Off the Rails. And, of course, Robinson and Wright and the Jen and Rick Show. I get tired of listening to all your shows, Rick. So why don't you guys go around the horn a little bit and introduce yourselves. And Susan, that means you're up. Dan? And Bill? All right. Last but not least, Rick. All right. You guys were talking off the air about who people were supporting before tonight's debate, before we got down to the final two. Now, that was interesting, but we're supposed to be focused on the debate. So, Susan, again, I'm going to let you kick things off.
Conservative, and I want someone in the Oval Office who will uphold conservative values, namely limits on the federal government and limits on trampling up our rights. So I tend to favor Trump only because some of his positions that he's articulated are more in keeping with our Constitution and limiting government. Okay, that said, neither of them are my favorite people. Going into this debate, I was wondering if Donald Trump was going to be, Casey at the bat round 2 and flub up like he did the first time. I found it very interesting, though, because my kids actually wanted to watch this debate. So I won't be surprised to find out if more people actually tuned in to this debate than the first one, even given that they leaked some trash talking, locker room talk from 2005. I think it's just piquing people's interest, and I find it fascinating that the more dirt that there's out there, it is like, it's like watching a soap opera or a reality show. They want to see how the characters in this drama, this political drama, are going to handle the latest, scandal. And I absolutely loved that the question came up, and that I think the way that Trump handled it was right on point. And I think throughout this debate, if I had to call it, I think Trump won this running away with it. He had such a command of the right tone. He absolutely punched Hillary, gut punched her in many, many different soft spots on issues. I'm speaking, of course, only politically. I'm not speaking real, physically, because he was a gentleman throughout. I thought he was finally disciplined. I thought he stayed, for the most part for him, he stayed on the issues, and he limited his rambling somewhat. By the end of the debate, Hillary was on her heels. She was stammering, trying to squeeze in words. Even the moderators were cutting her off, and she was stammering and looking not so good. She had that smirk on her face, and her eyes actually started looking a little bit tired and strange to me. So I think this was a commanding night for Trump, and he actually gave, I think, people a reason to tune in for what will be now Act 3 of the great debate drama.
All right. I guess that means I'm up.
Yep, same words, different directions.
All right. Well, first, I just want to respond a little bit to what I just heard, be it that I think I'm the only one here who's a little liberal. So, Susan, you said that Donald Trump will protect our rights and our freedoms. That's what he stands for.
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Hang on, guys. Hey.
Did you even listen to what I said?
Yeah, you said he's going to be the candidate who's going to stand for our rights.
I just got through saying I'm not a fan of either of these guys. However, on balance, I'm a conservative, and I tend to try to find someone who will support the values in our Constitution. But that said, I don't like any of them. So listen when I talk.
Well, I'm saying Donald Trump's going to support stop and frisk. He supports stop and frisk. But anyways, in respect to anything else, I just felt that...
I don't even know where you're going with this.
I don't...
Bryce, where did you get stop and frisk out of supporting the Constitution?
If you like, if you like the candidates, go ahead and give me what your view is on the candidates.
Yeah, I'm going
to coming after me.
No. I'm just responding to that statement about you want someone who's going to protect your rights and...
You're responding to me. They asked you a question about who you like on the debate.
Hang on, or this is not going to work. Right, this is not one of the debate shows like you and I do on Saturday, so please just make your personal points and let's move on to the next panel person.
Sure. I thought that Hillary did a fine job. I think she kept up well. I think Donald Trump came out rattled because of his disgusting statements he just previously made. I would say that Hillary Clinton came out strong. I think she could have done better. I don't think that there was any weakness she showed in her eyes or any physical traits at all. I think that she definitely did a good job. I think the moderators did a good job. But ultimately, I think that Donald Trump came off as a complainer about all the time he wanted to speak, and he said, well, you let her go over, and you never let me go over. I thought there was a good back and forth between the moderators and Trump, and I think they kept him well under control.
I think that I don't know. You know, I didn't like him going into the debate. I don't like him going out of the debate. The commentary about the, you know, grabbing, not a fan of that. I think he did really horribly the first probably 10 or 15 minutes of the debate. I think he did pretty well for the next 15 to 17 minutes from the way that I timed it. I think the remainder of the time probably goes to her. I really wish that she could stop staring into the camera and nodding like a Furby or something, because that's kind of weird. But I think that we could definitely do without him screaming and interrupting, and you know, I think he, look, he's a reality TV star. He's not really a practice speaker. He tends to breathe a lot through his nose, which people have intimated means he has a drug problem. I think it's really just because, you know, he's not a practice speaker. He's not used to having to breathe through his mouth or whatever while he's talking, and I just think that there's a lot that's very unpolished. I did think it was a little bit funny that he brought, you know, Broderick and them to the debate, but, you know, at the end of the day, this is a presidential debate, and it's really not the Jerry Springer show, you know, so maybe could have done without that. I don't know. Dear God, help us all.
You put that well with the Jerry Springer show, I might add.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's just so ridiculous. I mean, it's just, you know, like I said on Twitter, you know, they told Donald Trump he could be anything, so he became Jerry Springer. I mean, it's ridiculous. You know, it wasn't necessary. I would have liked to have heard some more substance to be honest, from both of them. I think at the end of the day, this was a town hall debate. I think that it was a debate where they were supposed to be taking questions from America. I think ultimately the venue itself failed because they were supposed to be doing that. And then the first 20 minutes of the debate, they didn't even ask any damn questions. It was just him and her jabbing like it was, you know, it was a high school, you know, it was a debate club in a high school, you know. I mean, it didn't really make any sense. And it feels to me, I think, like the commission or the moderators or somebody really failed at this format, because they had an hour and a half to do this event, and I think maybe they asked 5 questions from the audience. Out of, like, you know, tens of millions they were probably given, they asked like 6. And I think that they really failed. Something really did not go very well with this format. It didn't work. It's not really one particular person's fault. It's really just an overall failure, perhaps more indicative of the election itself. But, you know, at the end of the day, this one was supposed to be about America, and it was really just about 2 rich old morons arguing with each other on stage. I really didn't. I didn't enjoy it.
Dan, you're next.
All right. Well, yeah, I agree with pretty much just about everything Bill said. 10, 15 minutes into the debate, I mean, I tweeted out, I said, when does Maury Povich show up with the paternity test? Because it looked like you were watching Jerry Springer or the Maury Povich show. And I'll go back to what I said after the vice presidential debate. They've got to come up with some way to get more control over it. I don't know. I mean, you know, like I said before, the vice president, or after the vice presidential debate, is, you know, bring in the freaking gong show aspect or something. Ring a damn bell when the damn bell rings. Shut up. I don't know. The whole thing. I was looking forward to this. I was looking forward to it because I thought there were going to be a lot more questions from the audience, the internet, whatever. And like Bill said, it was like 5. I mean, what was the point? Why not just have a normal debate?
Yeah, they made a big deal they made this huge deal about how they were partnered with Facebook and Twitter and stuff, and they didn't ask one damn question from Facebook. I thought that was so weird.
I mean, just the whole thing. If you're going to set it up like a town hall, do a town hall. You know, I mean, don't even, you know, they vetted the audience to be an audience that were undecided voters. Forget the internet, forget Facebook, forget Twitter, forget all that stuff. Let the audience that you picked ask the damn questions. I mean, it made no sense to me. Do it like a town hall if you're going to call it a town hall, and limit the time.
Yeah, and they had like 35
and let there be
15
or 20 questions
instead
of 5
from those people. You know, two of them came from the internet, and the other 5, you know, other 4 or 5 questions came from the 30 or 40 people that were on the stage. So why couldn't they just I don't know, just disappointing. Just so weird, and disappointing, and awkward.
If any of you saw the Obama town hall, it was done much better, actually. I would agree.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking about. Because remember, they had the big screen TV, and they were asking questions from Facebook people and stuff. And I mean, it's just that's what I thought that we were going to get tonight.
Yeah, and when it comes to who won, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, this is the first election season ever where I've watched now 2 presidential debates and a vice presidential debate, and I can't tell you who won any of them. I can't. I mean, there's just
I'll weigh in.
There's
I'll
no way
on that one
to tell.
I'm absolutely sure on the first debate, Hillary walked away with that first debate. She totally owned Trump on that first debate. And on
I agree with that.
It's absolutely clear that Trump absolutely commanded the stage. And I'm a little bit puzzled by what you're saying, that you were expecting it more like, you know, Facebook or Twitter or more questions like that. I didn't actually come in thinking in any particular way. I was waiting to see how they were going to present it. I really did like the forum with them being able to walk around and less stiff sitting behind desks. I liked that better.
Yes, I did too.
I thought that Martha Raddatz did a fairly credible job as a journalist. She seemed to put a pretty good balance of asking. There was one particular question with Trump where she said, you know, she was asking him about what Pence had said about I'm trying to remember the name of what the question was. Oh, I'm so sorry. His policy with Iran, it was Iraq rather, and she was very fair about it, because she said, here's what you said, and here is what your running mate has said about it. And that was fair because she reminded him in advance before. She didn't play gotcha. And I noticed throughout the debate that she seemed to, for the most part, try to be fairly balanced. I didn't find that to be true, in my opinion anyway, with Anderson Cooper. But looking at all this, I wasn't looking at the format. I was sitting there just listening and trying to feel what would most regular people be feeling watching all of this. And it was very, very clear to me. I mean, just the clothing alone. When I saw these people come out in clothes, I saw Trump in an absolutely traditional power suit, power tie, strong man, walking out there, and Hillary, she came out walking with a penguin suit and a unisex shirt, which I didn't even know what that was. It was the oddest thing. It's like she was wearing some sort of nightshirt or like smoking jacket, like I'm going to the hospital next. That was the weirdest clothes I've ever thought. It wasn't a power suit at all. So I saw that, and then I saw how they would, if you were able to see part of it, I don't know what, you know, network you were watching on, but I was able to see Trump occasionally start walking and pacing around like a lion, and he had such power in his stance. And then when I noticed it shifted, I don't know which one of you had said it was Bryce. I can't make out the voices, but after about the first 10 minutes, Trump warmed up and started absolutely taking it to Hillary and pointing out the different weaknesses on her side of the issues, and pointing out, well, didn't you say this, and what about that? And that resonated so well. Even the audience cheered a couple of times, and it became very apparent by the end of this that Hillary was back on her heels. She was a bit defensive, starting to sound shrill and appealing to and rushing her speech so that she could get on her website. Go to my website, fact check, that kind of thing, and not calm and not in command. And so from all of that, I can tell from just watching it that Trump absolutely owned the night, absolutely. And I think I'm sure the media at the end of the day, the media moguls are going to be pleased because now they have 1 and 1. So Act 1 went to Hillary. Act 2 now went to Trump. And now Act 3, the big finale of the big debate. And then we have the election. So the media is going to be very, very pleased for the ratings for all of this. But at the end of the day, when I listened to all of the different points, I saw Trump finally making real points and addressing her. And the one singular moment for me was when we started getting to the real issues. Hillary admitted that she wants to reverse a lot of what has gone on in our conservative Supreme Court over the last 30 years. She wants to totally reverse that. She wants to reverse Citizens United. She wants to absolutely empower and go further with Roe versus Wade. And Trump does not. And out of her own mouth, she gave a brilliant soundbite, if he's smart enough to use it in ads, saying, that Trump is going to appoint judges who will reverse Roe versus Wade and who will start to rein in the leftists on the court by appointing very conservative originalists to the Supreme Court. And that couldn't be a better endorsement for, I think, the conservative base who desperately want somebody to do that. That's the first thing. So Hillary just helped drive the conservatives into Trump's camp, which he's kind of, not been able to do. And then when he came back and confirmed all of that and what he said about the Supreme Court and Scalia and how he wants to affect the court, that did it for me. I know that he resonated with most of America by those things that I just laid out for you.
Okay, going to take a stop for just a second to interject a few things here. First of all, been looking it over. According to Frank Lutz, the guy that does a lot of the post-debate focus groups, etc., Trump up on this one plus 21. Number of people that felt like Trump won the last one. It was about 4-9. This time it was pretty much reversed. So at this point they're showing, even with the focus groups, it looks like this time Trump managed to walk away with it. Also, want to bring up something that was pointed out to me when I first started making fun of Trump tonight over the sniffles again. It was brought up to me by a friend of mine who's actually a nurse that one of the medications that he takes, actually, one of the side effects is sniffling. So there's a prostate medication, I guess, he takes that one of the side effects is pretty regular sniffling. So the fact that he's using this type of microphone and it's one that they're holding and he's not able to lean away from it when he's breathing is probably one of the things that's adding to that overall. I don't know. I mean, it kind of depends on, I guess, who you talk about. As far as my take on who won it and who lost it, I'm still in the same place I was. Look, I know everybody wants to talk about Trump and how this was locker room talk, etc. I've heard the video. I've read the stories about all the different things that are happening right now in the court system, the things that have happened in the court system before, and I don't think this should have been our guy. And because of that, I'm not comfortable with voting for either one of them. This debate did not change my mind on that. And I understand that a lot of people view me as the enemy now because if I'm not voting for Trump, then in somebody's mind I'm automatically supporting Hillary. At this point,
you're on stage 6 of Trumperism then. With us or against us?
Well, yeah, I get that.
I totally agree with what you're saying. I mean, and that's how I feel. I would have preferred, anyone but Trump. I'm sad. I'm very, very sad that Trump is our nominee. Hillary is an abomination, and I can never ever vote for her. She is a nightmare. But Trump, I'm very sad that he is, he's the GOP nominee. He's changed the GOP forever. Well, maybe not forever. That's being too dramatic. But I'm sad about it, and I'm sad that I'm going to have to, consider voting for him. I may not have to because I'm in California, and it won't make a hill of beans in California because there's so many Democrats that the state's going to go for Hillary anyway. But Trump is not my first, second, or third choice. But because of the way our not our democracy, our republic works, that's the hand we've been dealt. And so the choice is practically between a Trump and a Hillary. And so, yeah, both of them have high negatives. They're nowhere near what I would choose. I think it's sad that we're to that point. But the fact of the matter is, one of them is going to be in the White House. And so if I can affect it, then I have to do what I can to make sure that I have the less bad option. That's the way I'm looking at it. So I completely resonate and respect what you're saying, that you don't like either of them. I think that's what most Americans feel like. They're all kind of disgusted that, geez, this is what we've got. But you know what? Tonight, Trump went a long way toward redeeming himself, because he came up there and he addressed the issue. He said, yeah, this is what I said a long time ago, and yeah, I talk like that. But look what she's done, and I'm sorry for, I shouldn't have said it. That's it. But look what she's done. And he turned and he pivoted and he looked and he took it right to Hillary, and pointed out the hypocrisy, the utter hypocrisy of the left and the media, and to a large extent the GOP as well. Because there's a hypocrisy in this country that, well, he said the P word. Oh, I'm so shocked. Wait a minute.
Yeah, but that's not exactly what it is. That's not exactly what happened, though.
Whoa, wait a minute.
It is exactly. It
yeah,
is
it's
exactly.
sexual assault. He said when you have power, you can grab them by the... He said that. Come on.
Guys, can I put my 2 cents in here?
He said it. Yes, he said it. But that doesn't even come close to doing it, which is what Bill Clinton has done to women and what Hillary has defended him doing. That's the difference. You can talk about it. Oh, well, yeah, I've got the guys on tape. He's a pig. I totally agree. I don't like what he's saying. I don't like it when guys talk like that. I think it's kind of gross. But he's talking. That's a tape of talking.
No, but guys talk like that.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah, I know they talk like that, and it's
not to interject. Point of order, it's not just talk. There are actually people that he's done these things with and to that are coming out all over the media now talking about. One of them actually happens to be a show that my wife watches. There was an actress on a soap opera that she watches that was complaining that during one of the meetings with Donald Trump, he leaned in, kissed her on the mouth without even an invitation, and didn't stop until she pushed him away. This is a problem for me.
I totally agree. And you know what? We've had a president for 8 years that did that to women in the Oval Office and raped a woman. Did her lips. That's my point. So I look at this and I go, you know what? We've got we've got a guy who said this, and now, but we've also got a man who was impeached doing these things, and his wife, who's running, actually stood up and supported him and defended him. That's the difference. The
difference for me, quite frankly, is now we have the people on the right trying to do the moral equivalency that we always gripe at the left for doing, because we know for a fact he's done some of these things. We know for a fact he's done some of these things, and yet we're still trying to excuse it. Look, I'm just going to be completely blunt. Neither one of them deserve to be commander-in-chief, because the simple fact of the matter is there's things that they've both done that we don't even know about yet, and for the first time ever, we have a 100% chance of putting somebody in the White House that is likely going to be able to be blackmailed. That's a problem.
Well, I just want to...
Can I poke my nose in here for a minute?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. First of all, I don't like either candidate, all right? The state I vote in, Oklahoma, is going to go red almost without question. Now, for me, I don't want to approve of the locker room talk from Trump. I don't approve of Hillary defending rapists or her husband's actions. So I'm going to get that out there. I think for me it comes down to who's going to appoint a judge for the Supreme Court that is not going to take away constitutional rights such as Second Amendment, who's not going to who's going to interpret the Constitution strictly, a strict constructionist. Because I'm sorry, I don't think our founding fathers would recognize half the decisions that the recent court has made. And with that, I'm backing out and let you guys get back to jabbering.
So I just want to be really clear here, and I want to make this very super, super clear. This is not just talk. He is describing actions in a hypothetical with Billy Bush. However, it has come to light that he does more than just discuss these things in hypothetical. He does physically do these things. So, we watch OAN and Fox News and stuff, and, of course, it's the job of the Hannitys of the world to defend the indefensible. And, that's a thing that I hear quite often in the last 48 hours is, well, it's just locker room talk. No, he's saying that when you're a famous person, you can go up to a lady and you can grab her junk and she'll be okay with it because you're a rich, powerful dude. Now, assuming that this was just talk, it is really problematic, not just from a moral, but a legal perspective, that you would have a president who views his own celebrity in such a way that he can do these things. Now, whether he acts on these thoughts or not is immaterial. The fact that he believes that he can and that he should, for me, is a disqualifier, among hundreds of others for him.
I just want to actually jump in on this and make a comment similar. If we keep dismissing this and using the phrase locker room talk, I don't know about many of you, but I've been an athlete. I've been in the locker rooms.
If I had a friend that talked like that, I was talking to a friend of mine in the bar the other night on Friday, and we were talking about this. And I said, look, if you came down and you were sitting next to me in the bar right now, and you said something like that to me, so, oh, yeah, I went up to this girl that works here, I saw her by the bathroom, and I decided to grab her, whatever. And, I'm just famous and stuff like that, and I decided to do it. And, yeah, I think she liked it because,
well, I wanted
a powerful guy. If he said that to me, I would knock him the hell off the stool.
Well, let me just add in here, though, that this is such a problem. It's what a lot of people call rape culture. And I think this is just the highlighting point of it, that a man who's rich and powerful, or just someone who has a position of power, has the mindset that they can take advantage of a woman like that. And we are going to weigh Hillary and Trump here. It's false equivalence. Hillary Clinton did not do this, did not do what her husband did not say what her husband did not do what Trump did, and I'm not going to defend Bill, and I'm not going to defend Trump, and I'm not going to...
She did something worse. She defended the man and destroyed the women who accused her husband of rape. That's even worse. I can't believe she pulled the Tammy Wynette, stand by your man. She justified it. She knew this man was a rapist and had slept with half of Arkansas. She hung in there, and she kept it going for her own power. That's why she is so offensive. I can see Bill and I can see Trump at the same level. Yeah, that's fine. But for a woman to defend what the man did, that is beyond the pale.
But defending a man who's literally standing at the pinnacle of what this whole idea of rape culture is, saying, oh, I can grab a woman because
Clinton is the rape culture. What are you talking about? That's what he did in the White House. He was playing around with Lewinsky in the cigar.
That's pretty consensual to me. If you don't,
it is rape culture. That is, the Democrats treat women like whores.
Oh my God, Democrats! No, that's ridiculous.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
How do you exclude the Democrats?
Oh my gosh. It's
not necessarily exclusive to Democrats, but they're just the ones that we see.
It's the entire war on women. It's the Democrat culture of the whole treatment of women is sick. it's sick what they do. I'm sorry that I don't have words to explain it to you, but the way that they minimize the life-giving force of a woman. They don't think that that's something to be sacred or upheld or justified. Women are supposed to be identical cogs in a corporate machine and work exactly the same as men, and we're all supposed to be paid the same, which is a good thing, but that is the ultimate hope of a woman is supposed to be like a man.
Why is that a woman
absolutely they've denigrated women. They have taken women off of the pillar that they should be on, standing up slightly above men, because we give life, and that should be protected and revered. And what the Democrats have done since the 60s with the pill and with their constant badgering about abortion is to minimize and denigrate the unique position that women have in culture, which is to give life and to teach and save lives. They have denigrated that and said men and women are on the same level. We all should be having sex with everybody at the same time. There is no difference between male and female. We have to raise them all together, and they should all experience the same things. They've minimized the uniqueness of what true femininity is, and they've minimized the uniqueness of the gift of life by sucking it into a sink and forcing other people to pay for it. So that's their position of women. We're just used by the Democrat Party. We are used to just pay for whatever they want. It's population control. They see women as things to be controlled and managed.
Well, none of that is true.
They're throwing us a line to be in corporate America. But their position on femininity is a laugh and a half.
Okay, maybe we should go back to talking about Trump and Hillary, because believe it or not, that's what this debate was about.
Instead of what the media is doing, we're all getting sucked into it. The media is going back to just one Trump soundbite. We have ignored the totality of what Trump was saying on the issues and what Hillary was saying on the issues. We got a very good perspective of what both candidates intend to do with taxes, with Obamacare, with a host of other things. That is what the American people wanted out of this debate tonight. They wanted to see what are the differences between the debate. They didn't want to just hear, okay, we're going to keep going back to the locker room quote again and again and again. They've heard it. They don't like it anyway. So what they have to do is, it's like what you guys have said, and I agree with you. I don't like either one of them. So how do I make an informed vote? How do I inform my vote and choose the least bad option or the better option, or however you want to categorize it? And that's why we should be talking about the issues and which each one's the candidates support. And
you're pulling the lever for the man who degrades women the most. He does. You're pulling the lever for him.
Right. Bill Clinton, I can't stand Bill Clinton. He's awful.
You're not voting for Bill Clinton. You're voting for Hillary, and you're voting for Trump. And you're voting
for Hillary.
I know. I said that.
Voting for Hillary?
That's not what I said. I said it's either you're not voting for Bill. You're either voting for Hillary or you're voting for Trump. And you're voting for the guy who's degraded women time and time again. That makes no sense.
And you're voting. Okay, and so you're voting for the woman who defends a guy saying it. You're voting for the woman who actually excuses and justifies it.
No, I'm not. She doesn't excuse or justify rape. You don't know the interworkings of their marriage.
Bimbo eruptions were. Go back in your history. What do you think? She was at the head of the war room for the bimbo eruptions. She told George Stephanopoulos, we have to destroy their stories. She has to destroy women. That is what Hillary said.
Destroying women is I have to just make a comment here, because the whole thing you said about how, it's a woman's job to bring life into this world and teach life. Okay, that's all great and whatnot.
It's their unique position. It's not their job. Okay. I didn't say that was their job.
All right. But you know what? The fact of the matter is telling women in society, this is your duty and this is what you do. That's not how. That's not how this
works in my house.
You were not even.
It's their job. It is their uniqueness. It is what makes so unique and so superior to men. We have an ability to do something absolutely wonderful and singular in the universe, which is to create new life. And that is being denigrated, and that is being poo-pooed, and that is being dismissed by the Democrat Party. They don't value life. They don't value women because we give life.
That just is...
Okay, both candidates treat women like shit. Let's talk about something else.
That's not true.
I'll agree with that.
She's talking about how, how women...
Whoa. Bill has a point. Both candidates have had either issues of sexual assault or defended someone against sexual assault. Let's take that one issue off the table and move on, cats.
Right.
Can I interject?
That's my favorite topic. Let's talk about
if we're going to get onto a different topic.
Yes.
Please, Dan.
Hang on. Just everybody stop talking for a second, please. We're getting way out of control. Everybody's trying to talk over everybody. So what topic do we want to talk about next? Let's take a vote.
I'd like to talk about the whole energy independent issue, about resources and international affairs in that sense.
Okay.
Because I think they were...
Anybody else want to talk about that?
Sure.
Sure.
So
All right,
who wants to start?
If you don't mind me starting off, because I brought it up, I'd like to just mention that there's a clear dichotomy between the two parties. So Hillary Clinton was mentioning how we're energy independent and we need to keep working, doing what we're doing. We've seen oil production in this country go up 87%. She was talking about using natural gas, but getting into a phase of clean energy. And then we heard Donald Trump give no policies at all, no idea what he's talking about. He says, we have all this earth below us, we're going to excavate and we're going to send coal miners back to work. The whole point of what Hillary said about an initiative to get coal miners new jobs, being solar installers or technicians in green energy, is so critical, because just hear this one point out. The poorest towns in this country are the coal country. And saying, we're going to send you back to the mines, that's ridiculous, and that's a soundbite. Training people in the way of the future is brilliant, and I think that policy proposal gives Hillary the leg up far beyond what Donald Trump said. I think what Donald Trump said was ridiculous. I think if you say, we're going to send people back to the coal mines, that's not where the jobs are. The free market has dictated that coal, it's a dying industry. We're losing king coal, and that's probably a good thing for all of us. But your guys' thoughts. You go, Ron.
I don't think that I have no problem with creating. Okay, look, first off, the free market hasn't decided that solar is, all this other crap is. And I like solar. I would like a Tesla. I think that, electric cars are great. I think solar power is terrific. But I don't think that I think that this stuff is mostly an invention of the federal government pushing it on both sides, left and right. I don't think the free market really wanted it. I don't think the free market ever really gave a damn about it, because really electric cars have been in development since I was a kid and probably before you were even born. And, nobody really wanted electric cars until maybe the last, 8 or 10 years. That's when it really started to get kind of famous and kind of big, and Elon Musk got involved in it, and that's when it started to actually generate some kind of interest. We've been kind of pushing at this and saying, the coal, we gotta train these coal miners, what lousy neighborhoods these people live in, and blah, blah, blah. You know what? My thought is that if people want to work in a coal mine, my grandfather's father worked in a coal mine for 35 years in Dunmore, Pennsylvania. If you want to work in a coal mine, have fun, have black lung, do whatever you want. It doesn't really affect me.
I don't want to work in a coal mine.
What's that?
The odds are is that the reason they're working in a coal town and in a coal mine is because that's how they were raised, and that's the job, and then the community.
Okay, so you're going to come and you're going to tell them that this is not good, so I'm going to give you a solar job, and
there's no money in that. That it's keeping these people down. If you train them if you give them education, and then you allow them to develop, and you allow them to go and become, energy.
But that's centralized planning. The government knows what you need because this is better, and you will learn more and make more, and yada yada, and.
That's government giving you the ability.
No. That's government saying, I know better. I'm from the government. And then, look, I mean, I was a Democrat for almost 30 years. I mean, you can't bullshit me, okay? I mean, I know exactly what this is. You know, these poor slovenly miners, they got crappy jobs and they live in lousy neighborhoods. And,
you know, don't watch our please.
No, but this is the real difference here. I don't think that Trump's
language.
I don't think that Trump's plans exist. I think Trump's plans are nonsense. I think he's an idiot. I think he has absolutely no plan. But to say, hey, I'm going to teach you poor people a new way of working, and, you know, I mean, look, if people don't want coal, then it will die. If it doesn't make any money, the industry will go away on its own. Coal's been around for a long time. It probably will be around long after you and I are both gone. And I don't see any need to go into these towns and tell these people that the way they live, the jobs they have are outmoded, and this is the new religion for the weak. You know?
The problem is that it's hurting these people. It's keeping them down in poverty.
According to you.
No, you can't advance as a coal miner. As an energy technician, as an installer, you can advance. There's no mobility in being a
According to you.
According to the fact that these are the poorest communities.
According to you.
They are. That's not.
According to you. Because you've decided that what they do is no good.
No, I didn't say that what they do is no good. I said that these are the poorest communities. If you look at West
Virginia.
So what?
Maybe they want to be poor.
Okay, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
No, it's not.
Yes, that is. You're telling me that people want to be poor, so they're going, oh, I want to be poor.
Maybe they enjoy their job.
All right, that's ridiculous. You just jumped from point A to B. You said that they enjoy.
What if they enjoy their job?
If they enjoy their job, you think that people enjoy going into a coal mine, getting black lung and various diseases coming out?
I don't know.
Actually, I do know a few people that work in coal mines and they enjoy it and they're proud of it and they don't want to do anything else.
White college boy.
I'm sure if they found a job that paid them more and didn't involve them going into a dark mine.
But see, again, I'm sure. That's the way you started the sentence off. I'm sure.
Okay, how about we agree that some coal miners may be happy, some coal miners may not be happy. Susan, do you have a comment on coal?
I do.
Okay.
It is not the government's job to determine what industries live and die. It is not the government's job to tell people who work in a coal mine or who drive cars for a living or who work in office buildings whether they should enjoy their work or not. That's not government's job. Government's job is to protect the country and to make sure that our laws work fairly, and that's about it. Now, clean energy is a great idea, but it is not something that is self-sustaining right now. And to get back to what we were talking about, which is the performance of these two individuals during a debate, Hillary Clinton came out with the very same old song and dance that she's had before. She's already said that she wants to put the coal industry out of business. And she's trying to well, that's good for people who, I guess, want to put the coal industry out of business.
No, it's good for the Republicans who are taking billions of dollars.
Bryce, she did not interrupt you when you spent the last 5 minutes talking. Come on, man.
Excuse me. It's not, my point is that it should not be government's job to determine what industries should be shut down. That's what communist countries do. And so to hear from Hillary that, we need to shut down coal, or on the other side, we need to divert you, coal miners, into a different profession, i.e. solar, which is more socially compelling or to some other people, that's not government's job. That it is truly not government's job. And it is a dangerous thing that we are supporting any kind of policy that tells anyone what to do. It's like telling a journalist, we don't want journalists. Or like with Obamacare, we're seeing that through Obamacare, which has tentacles even into the student loans. Obamacare has abilities to tell doctors, we don't want general practitioners, we want specialists, or vice versa. That's the power of the federal government. So when Hillary tells these coal miners, as kind of a benevolent mother, oh, son, you don't want to dig coal out of the ground, it's dirty work, you want to be in solar. She's using a social agenda to drive business and to shut down one business and to build up another business. That's very dangerous, and it should not be what our government does. Trump's answer on all of that, it wasn't very memorable. I don't have specific notes about it, but he did come back with the important point, at least the feeling that I remember, was that, hey, Hillary wants to shut down and take away your jobs, and the jobs of most Americans really, truly do depend on energy. And the energy that we have in America is fossil fuel, coal, and we also have natural gas. We do have solar. We have a lot of different energy sources. But at the end of the day, right now, we are dependent on foreign oil, and we're dependent on foreign sources of energy because of our government, because our government will not allow us to get the energy that is under the ground. That's what he was referring to. He's not very eloquent when he speaks. I fault him for that. I wish he were a little bit better. But he hit the right note in comparing the two. Hillary wants a government-driven economy where the government is in charge of and controls where people work and what types of jobs they have based on a social construct that they approve of. I find that dangerous. And I found that Trump's answer, although it was not very articulate, did hit the right chord on, wait a minute, we got plenty of energy here. Take the handcuffs of government off of our companies and let us develop our own resources and our own jobs and get government out of the way. So I thought, as far as voting, I think most Americans, maybe I'm wrong, but I think most Americans like the idea of being independent and free and being able to choose what kind of jobs they want, at what kind of pay they want, and if they like, driving trucks and digging in the coal mines, that's fine. I don't think Americans essentially like the idea that government should decide what industries thrive and which don't, and where people should be working. I think that's a bad word, should.
I think that Trump suffers from. I think Trump's problem is that when you press him on issues, he reverts to what I call drudge headlining, which is he just kind of reads off a list of things that he maybe read on Drudge Report or on Breitbart or on Reichbart, and
he was terribly prepared this time around. Last time, you're absolutely right, but
yeah, I think when he says when he's talking about the coal thing, I don't think he knows what the hell he's talking about, to be really honest. I think he just read that someplace online because he has whenever you press him for specifics, he just sort of, like I said, he reads off, something that sounds kind of soundbitey-ish, that maybe he read on Drudge or somewhere. And he can't really delve into specifics. The only thing that he kind of got into specifics on is of course, the taxes. And even then, he really couldn't. I think his biggest issue is really just specifics. When you press him for specific answers to specific questions about specific things, there's not a lot there. Once you scratch the surface, there's just not a lot there. And I think Kellyanne Conway has really done herself a tremendous disservice by, hitching her wagon to him, because at the end of the day, he's not going to win the election. This election was over from June, more or less. The events of the last 72 hours have really sort of only kind of confirmed that. People are bailing on him. The RNC's having an emergency meeting with congressional leaders on Monday. What they should do, if they were playing intelligently, which I'm sure that they won't, they should treat this election, and I think maybe Dan will remember this a little bit better than I do because he's a little older than me. But they should sort of treat this sort of like what they did with Dole and Kemp, which is it was really fairly obvious around June or July when the Dole Kemp ticket was shored up. It was really pretty obvious around that time that they were not going to win, and so the RNC started to divert funds away from advertising for the campaign and for funding it and stuff like that, and
saving the down ballot.
They started trying to save the Senate and the House, and I think that's what they should do in terms of Trump right now, because he's not going to win. He's going to get beat very badly. I mean, I would be very shocked if Hillary didn't just completely eat his lunch in this election. Right now he's up 4 points on her in Texas. 5.25 in Alaska. He's fighting her for Georgia and Utah, which are states Georgia is a state that hasn't gone blue since Jimmy Carter, and then before that it had never gone blue since Reconstruction. So, I mean, she's going to completely eat his lunch. She's going to win Florida, North Carolina. She's going to win West Virginia. She's going to win Virginia without question. She's going to win Ohio, probably Pennsylvania. This is going to be a blowout, and what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to shore up the Congress, stop the bleeding, and hope that you can try to use Paul Ryan to pull off sort of the same congressional magnificence that Newt Gingrich did in the 90s, which is, look, we got our butts kicked, but we got this really great guy and he knows how to argue. Well, maybe he's kind of a sleazebag, but, he is really great at making deals. And, I think that's probably the safest strategy here anymore. I think this election is mostly dead at this point.
Hey, Bill?
Yeah.
I was just looking up Frank Luntz's Twitter feed, and he says his focus group says Donald Trump won debate number 2, and he may have made a mistake in writing Trump off, and after talking with voters tonight, he's back in the race.
He's not. He's going to lose.
We'll see what 538 has to say about that tomorrow.
Right, but I just thought, I'm just reading off Frank Luntz's Twitter feed. I just thought that might be of interest to all of you. And number of times moderators interrupted each candidate in the first half of the debate. Trump was 14 times, Clinton was second too, and he's still working on the numbers for the second half. All right.
It doesn't surprise me at all.
I'd like to bring up another point about energy, a different point to get us away from. I don't know if you guys, for the record, for those of you who are new to listening to KLRN Radio, I do the international stories. I can usually tell you more about what's going on in North Korea and Turkey's politics than I can the U.S. So that leaves me kind of half out of these things. That's why you don't hear me a lot on the air. Now, that being said, Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, signed off on a deal with Russia where they now control 20% of the United States uranium. If that isn't giving up energy independence, when she says she's for it and thinks it's the best thing in the world, I don't know what is. Now, on that note, I'm going to back out again and see what you guys have to make of that and whatever else you guys are going to bring up again tonight.
I believe the reason that they signed, not that I'm not 100% up on this, but I believe that the reason that they gave them that 20% was because they are able to refine it in a way that makes it much more usable than we are, just simply because they were, that was pretty much their bread and butter for 45 years. So
FYI, Bill, they've also backed out of 2 nuclear agreements with us in the last 10 days. They backed out of the nuclear proliferaton agreement, saying they're not going to destroy
that's because of Syria.
Right? But they've also backed out of an agreement with us where they would change their nuclear power plants from high enriched uranium to low enriched uranium. Now, for those of you who are out there who don't understand how a nuclear power plant is, I'm going to summarize this in one sentence. If you want more information, please see the episode about heavy water and nuclear power from Conversations in Science on KLRNRadio, where Dr. Judy L. Moore explains the whole thing in much more scientific detail than I'm about to do. Nuclear power plants. You put in uranium, you get out plutonium. And plutonium is what is used in bombs more effectively than uranium. And at that point, back at it, guys.
Well, if I could, I wanted to make a point when we were talking about energy and we were talking about coal. Right up the street from me here, Duke Energy has a massive steam plant. So when you're talking about doing away with coal, you're not just talking about changing the jobs of coal or affecting just the coal miners. This steam plant up the street from me probably employs 1,000 people. Now, if that steam plant doesn't get coal, that steam plant doesn't run. That steam plant doesn't run, those people don't work, and Duke Energy needs to figure out how they're going to get more energy without raising my electrical rates, which are already very high. So it's the whole energy thing and the whole coal thing doesn't just affect coal miners. It affects everything. It's what isn't seen by people that say we need to do away with coal isn't what it affects down the line. I mean, this is a massive steam plant that probably generates electric power for 1 million people. It's massive. The next closest plant is a nuclear plant that is about 20 miles away, and I'm in a heavy populated area. And that nuclear plant actually supplies a lot of electricity out of state. So when you do away with coal, it's not just affecting the coal miners. It's affecting trickle effect that goes all the way down the line. Now, the other thing I wanted to say when we were talking about Trump and his bullet points, he missed a bunch tonight. I mean, I was just about screaming at the TV when Hillary brought up closing gun show and internet loopholes. There aren't any, especially internet. There's no internet loophole. If I order a gun over the internet, that gun gets sent to a licensed dealer where I live, and I have to go in there and have my background check done. You cannot sell. It's already illegal to sell a weapon on the internet that has not had a background check done on it. It's illegal. And Trump just looks at her like, okay, I have no idea what you're talking about.
We're going to make it super illegal.
What's that?
I said, now we're going to make it super illegal. Sorry, I'm just being corny. Continue.
Right. Yeah. We're going to make it super illegal. I mean, I've bought a firearm over the internet. What the way the process works is I buy it, I make a payment, I give them the address of my FFL that I want it sent to. They send it to my FFL. I go in there with my paperwork, with my background check from the sheriff's department.
Daniel,
they verify
explain
me,
FFL,
and they run a quick check on me to verify my background check. I cannot buy a weapon on the internet without a background check.
And for the record, FFL is federally licensed firearm dealers?
Correct. Federal firearm dealer. Federal firearm license is an FFL. Basically, I use Gander Mountain. When I buy something over the internet, it's sent to them. I pay a slight fee to them to do my background check and do all my paperwork. That's how it works. If somebody is
when I bought my
AR-15
AR-15
on the internet and sending it directly to a person, they're already in violation of the law. Figure out how to enforce it if you want, but no more laws are going to change that.
No, I mean, I'm an AR-15 owner. I don't have an issue with background checks at all. Period. I mean, I'm perfectly fine.
No, me neither. Me neither.
In New Jersey, when I bought my AR-15, I bought it over the internet. I had it shipped to an FFL. In order to actually buy it from the FFL, where I bought it in Florida, they actually want for I guess Florida law, I suppose, requires I guess it requires a photocopy of your driver's license and like any required firearm card or something. I'm perfectly fine with that. I mean, that's how I did it. I took a, I scanned my driver's license. I sent it to them, and I was fine with that.
Okay,
Susan's
next.
We are so far into
Hang on. Susan, go ahead.
I'm really sorry to interrupt, but we're so far into the weeds on this, and we shouldn't be debating
Thank you, Susan.
AR-15 gun loopholes. We're kind of silly. The point is Trump and Hillary on the debate. And Trump, I tell you, the moment that Trump won that debate tonight was when he said that if he's elected, he will investigate Hillary's email destruction. The crowd went wild, and in my house, we were all just yelling and screaming, and people on, that I was social media in connection with, they were all thrilled, because that is that's one of the most recent scandals of hers that's really galling a lot of Americans, that she gets preferential treatment. We've got a general that's gone to jail. There's another guy that's just been brought up and is now being charged with espionage because he brought some papers home that were classified, and yet we have the candidate who wants to be president who knowingly violated our laws and kept emails on a private unsecured server and trafficked in it, partially to make sure that Obama, who used a pseudonym in these emails, that wasn't disclosed to shield him. For her to be knowingly breaking the law as Secretary of State, and then to thumb the nose at Congress, who demanded with a subpoena that she turn over these things, and she didn't, and it's 33,000 emails and maybe more, and she used bleach bit to make sure, and even smashed things with hammers. I mean, it is galling, and it is frustrating to Americans, because we believe in the rule of law, that there is a law and we should all be subject to it, and that we are all equal under the eyes of the law, or at least we should be. And that's the point of our justice system. That's why a lot of people have fought for, civil rights, so that all men are created equal and are all treated equally under the law. And when Trump said, you better not hope that I'm going to be president, because if I am elected, I will investigate your email destruction. Oh my gosh, that resonated bigger than anything else he said tonight. That was huge.
Well, yeah, I agree. And I mean, the one time tonight that I did kind of throw a fist bump to Trump, I mean, he did have the line of the night when she said something along the lines of, this man in the White House, and he said, well, if I am, you'll be in jail. I mean,
exactly. That was beautiful.
I threw a fist bump to him. That was the line of the night right there.
I don't know why I'm, I guess, I don't know why I'm the only one that was kind of bugged by that. I actually didn't like that line. That didn't do anything to me.
I can't tell which voice this is. Is this the liberal talking or the
no,
non-liberal?
The guy who used to be a liberal.
Okay, used to be a liberal.
I'm
Speaking of Brace, let's get your input next after this comment. Thank you.
I'm kind of bugged by the whole, if I win the election, I'll investigate her and put her in jail thing. I mean, that, I think that there's a way that maybe we could say that without, sounding like, we're Stalin and we're going to kill all our enemies. I mean, it just
right.
It
you
didn't
like the way you said it? You didn't.
No, absolutely not. It sounded terrible.
The word to use?
Absolutely not. It sounded horrendously authoritarian.
Yeah, if I may add on that. So, first of all, I was about to say it sounded incredibly authoritarian.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all.
We're gonna start taking political dissenters or whoever, and you're going to jail. That's a little weird. But I want to just remind everybody that FBI Director James Comey justified his decision not to charge Hillary Clinton. And
because he wanted to stay alive.
Well, I mean, if that's your stance, then there's no point in really debating the point. But I mean, there's a reason why.
a barbell dropped on his throat.
I mean, I think Comey.
If we're not gonna take an FBI director as credence to anything, then there's no point in really bringing it up. So I mean,
you should go over exactly what he laid out. What he did was absolutely unheard of. He actually laid out the case, and in the last 2 or 3 sentences said, "Well, I'm not going to prosecute," and then kicked it over to Loretta Lynch because he laid out the case against Hillary. He laid it out for her. I mean, that's unheard of. He absolutely laid it out. It was so obvious that it was a political ploy that he can't do anything. It was up to the DOJ to actually act on it, and they didn't. It's up to the DOJ.
The thing that I would say to that, Bryce, is that while I do accept his decision, and it is, this is the process that we have for better or worse, and I accept that this is the outcome that was reached, I have to tell you that the facts as he laid them out there do describe the standard, the very federal standard for gross negligence. It does. And
what about the 22 emails that went missing under the George Bush administration? What about the millions of emails that went missing under Colin Powell's office?
I don't know, because we're not talking about that. But
I'm saying this has happened before. We can't dismiss that. And the fact is that the FBI director, James Comey, who is a conservative, said that it would be silly to charge her.
Correct. And I said that I accept his opinion, but I am telling you that the reason that people have issue with what he said is because the way that the facts as Director Comey laid them out, knowing full well that he is an attorney, the facts as he laid them out exactly describe the federal statute for gross negligence. And that's not an opinion of mine. You can look at the statute yourself and read it. And Director Comey continuously repeats that there was no malice aforethought or criminal intent in Secretary Clinton's behavior, but the federal statute does not require a person to have intent in order to commit gross negligence. That's just not the case.
Also, I'd like to butt in here for just one second.
You can look at the federal statute yourself, and you can read it, and you can decide for yourself. But the statute is only 2 sentences, and it's pretty clear that it doesn't require intent in order for someone to have federally committed negligence. That's all.
Also, I'd like to butt in.
Intent was. We've already got. By the way, we've got.
Susan, can I make one point? I'd like to just butt in and say that mishandling of classified information is also prosecutable under the law, and it also does not require intent.
Well, even if it doesn't, we have intent. You know where? When she got the bleach bit after it. That shows.
But it doesn't matter. Intent is not a requirement for negligence, even in the federal statute. It's not a requirement.
Correct. But even if we take it to, because some pundits have said, well, and they argued the intent part. When you've got bleach bit on there, that's intent. But again, we're in the weeds. What I was trying to focus on is the sentiment of the American people that we are treated differently under the law than these elites in Washington, these insiders. And Trump did a brilliant thing by pointing that out, that he continues to go along with his theme, which resonates with people, which is, I'm an outsider, she's an insider. She gets special deals. She gets special treatment by the FBI. She gets special treatment by the DOJ. And when I'm president, that stops.
But he doesn't.
We will get a special prosecutor, and we will look into it. And that will give what he's done is he's tried to reassure America that the laws will be respected and enforced fairly, and that's what's really, really important. And that's resonating with people.
I personally believe that because of, my opinion of what Secretary Clinton did with the information aside, I personally believe that now that we have the decision to not prosecute by the AG. I don't know that even if there were a President Trump, which, there could, I guess it could feasibly be. I don't know that if there were a President Trump, I'm not sure he'd be able to find an attorney general who would prosecute her anyway, because it's already been declined once, and she's been, yes,
no,
I'm absolutely
that's not
certain.
The standard. That's not the standard. She has not.
It doesn't, but it doesn't. I'm not talking about standards. I'm talking about there's no way that she would be able to receive a fair trial. Legally, there's no way that she would be able to be prosecuted for the crime now.
You are all
you're talking apples and oranges. You're talking apples and oranges. But anyway.
You are all missing the point of what gross negligence is, first of all. And as we can define it, I'm looking at the quotes right here, and we're going to say that she meets this parameter of gross negligence is just not true. She did not, do any of these requirements filled out that would state that she deserves to be charged. And let's not forget, I want to read the direct quote because I think it's more powerful. Just a statement. He says, Jim Comey says, no reasonable prosecutor could determine that the charges were warranted here. Just saying. None of us, I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, have legal backgrounds or saw any of the evidence that was looked at here. So,
I'm actually an attorney, so yeah, I do have a legal background.
But did you see any of the evidence that would indict him?
Not, because the FBI was going through it.
Exactly.
Stop being silly.
No, but it's not being silly. You haven't seen the evidence. Exactly.
Wait a minute. Of course,
right.
no one did.
Hang
That's
on.
why the FBI was supposed to go through it, and that's why the DOJ is supposed to look at it, because it's not in the public eye. Hello?
Right.
They did that.
He outlined everything that they found, and let's not forget, because I'm looking at the definition of gross negligence right now. Gross negligence is a conscious and voluntary disregard of the need to use reasonable care, which is likely to cause foreseeable grave injury or harm to persons, property, or both. It is conduct that is extreme when compared with ordinary negligence, which is a mere failure to exercise reasonable care. The simple fact of the matter is, he said over and over again there was gross negligence, but he didn't find intent. Nothing even in the federal statute.
Yeah, and the federal statute doesn't require intent.
Doesn't require intent.
Correct.
And who here has seen the evidence against Petraeus?
I don't have to see the evidence. The fact is that he outlined a case for negligence using the federal statute, and then he said that it doesn't. If you listen to what he said that his only real qualm is that there was no intent, but the federal statute doesn't require intent. 18 U.S.C. 793 does not require intent. It never has and it never will. Because you do not need intent to commit negligence.
Alright, where's the weed killer? Where's the weed killer?
I'll tell you that.
Where's the weed killer?
That's the thing, though. It's not really off in the weeds. I mean, we're talking about the
fact. Yes, we are totally in the weeds. This is supposed to be about the debate and how these two different candidates went back and forth and presented each other and themselves and the issues. And Trump did an interesting job by pointing out and by bringing up the fact. And I think it's a credit to him, because we're all sitting here talking about it, which we're finally doing. He made the emails a part of this debate. The last time he was in the debate, he didn't do that. He was not on point, and he didn't bring up the issues. This time he did. He did a very good job, and he brought it home very strongly. And he did something else, which I'll reiterate. He brought the point home that Hillary is being treated to a different standard because she's an insider and she's an elite. And that's what irritates Americans. We want one law to be applied fairly in all situations to all people. We don't like to believe that there's an elite government ruling over us. And that's what we're very concerned about, is that the elites are running Washington. They are not listening to the people. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or something in the middle, we want a responsive government, and we don't want our officials who are our employees. We don't want them lording over us as being subject to different laws. We want all of them to obey the same laws that we do. And if we don't have that, we're becoming a lawless nation. We're seeing it over and over again. It's the rise of Black Lives Matter, the disrespect for police officers. We're seeing it over and over again with just the millennial generations, all kinds of different problems coming up. Lack of respect for the law. And if that continues in our country, we will not have a country. We will have balkanized states. And for Trump to tie all of that together in a response and say, look, if I'm president, I will appoint a special prosecutor to get to the bottom of these emails. That resonates with people. That's my only point. I'm analyzing the debate. I'm analyzing what happened tonight in between the two candidates.
Well, I think it's pretty great that there's a guy behind Jeffrey Ward right now
to interject something here,
Zodiac Killer.
I just want to jump in as the only millennial here in response to this.
I'm a millennial.
Oh, you are? Oh, okay.
Of course.
Oh, I didn't realize that. All right, awesome. Well, I want to speak on behalf of millennials, and I'd like to see if you disagree. But I think that this whole notion that there's all these issues arising with millennials and we're lawlessness and whatever, I detest that notion. I don't think that's true at all. I think that we are a generation that's saying we are sick and tired of the acceptance of degrading others, and that's clearly what our generation is saying. You can hear it loud and clear, whether it's through our social media or whatever. And if you want to call it political correctness, so be it. But I don't think that's what it's called. And I think that when Donald Trump says, "Oh, well, we're gonna stop political correctness," I think what that means is we don't care if you're racist or not. And that's the real thing you gotta ask. Well, what does it mean to be unpolitically correct, right? It means saying ridiculous things. So I don't think that
like Ted Cruz is a Zodiac Killer.
Bryce, I'd like to take issue with that, even though I'm not a millennial. First of all, I have seen people not being able to fly an American flag under the guise of political correctness. I have been seen people told to take off American flag T-shirts under the guise of political correctness. I have seen where a quote American barbecue at a college campus could not be held because it was not politically correct. I have seen where posters have been taken down off college campuses for 9/11 memorials because it might offend a Muslim student.
Let me just tell you, I am on a college campus right now, and none of that is true. I think it's all blown up by this right-wing media, but it just so happens that, they blow up the idea of a safe space. And, I've actually had the opportunity to learn firsthand what that means, and I have to say, the idea that we should get rid of what is called a safe space is a little ridiculous. I mean, think about it. If someone experienced what Donald Trump thinks is okay and getting their junk grabbed, don't you think it might be a little harsh for them to sit through a class or a lecture without forewarning that this class might, spark some memories of their sexual assault? I mean, I don't know about Donald Trump's point of view on that, but the fact is that our generation is standing up to what it was formerly okay. And, I don't know about 9/11 posters being ripped down or people taking off their T-shirts, because these could all be isolated incidents, or these could all be, I do not think that these are the norms. In fact, I think that I heard it so brilliantly said, I think it was after the DNC, it was on NPR, they were saying, these are liberal patriots, people who are proud to be from their part of their country, and I consider myself one, someone who's a proud American, but really wants to make America better. And I'll end my point on this. I got to hear the Tuskegee Airmen speak, and I always bring this story up, maybe like a summer or 2 summers ago. And when asked with the question, why did you fight for a nation that didn't fight for you? And for anybody who doesn't know, they were the first African-American air regiment in the United States Air Force, even after documents saying that black people couldn't fly planes, they were too stupid or whatever, they couldn't be integrated. The Tuskegee Airmen were the first, and they were actually one of the best. And they said, in response to that question, which I found to be fascinating, they said, because in this country, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. And in this country, that's really one of the only places you can do that. And ultimately that this country is a great country because it has the ability to change, not because he said we didn't fight for a nation that was, we fought for a nation of what could be. And I think that's beautiful. And I think that's what millennials fight for. And I think that we're us saying we are sick of the status quo of, racism or sexism in society, of women getting paid different than men, or people getting different, callbacks from their resumes, as different based on your names. I think that there's a lot of problems in our society that definitely need to be worked out. And I don't think that Donald Trump is at all prepared to take on this changing face of America. And one last thing, actually. When you hear people like Karl Rove and a lot of the right saying, oh, if we don't win this one, it's the end of the world. We don't win this one, that's it. What they're saying is simple. This is the last time. This is the last election that Republicans can win under their message of excluding people, of excluding the LGBTQ community, and of excluding large bits of minorities. So let's just
keep trying to exclude them? Wait, who's trying to exclude them?
Oh my God.
Okay, time out. I'm going to make a proposal here right on the air.
Much more South Park.
I'm going to make a proposal here. Whoa, time out. Weed killer. All right, I'm going to make a proposal here. Bryce, Susan, why don't you two hash some of this out on Finding Common Ground on a Saturday?
I'm just bringing up what Donald Trump's platform is for the debate. That's all, and about the millennials.
Now, Susan, I will let you respond, and everybody else, hush up.
I just didn't know that Donald Trump had a platform that excluded people. I didn't think that. I thought he was trying to make everyone welcome. That's what I've heard. So it's news to me that he wants to exclude people based on.
He wants to build a wall and not allow Muslims into this country. His vice president is Mike Pence.
Okay, time out.
That's not okay, so I'm going to get talked over. I just can't.
No, go on, Susan.
Go on, Susan. Immigration. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Susan.
I think you're confusing what you were saying was that he wants to exclude LGBT and millennials and things. You're confused. He's talking about immigration, and he's talking about people who are not Americans who want to come into this country. That's called immigration. That's not got anything to do with people who are already here and part of a country. I have not heard anything in his platform or in the GOP platform that say they don't want a certain segment of America and electorate or people in there. So I think you're very confused on that. Maybe you know that and you're just saying it to kind of slam Trump or something. But his stand on immigration has to do with illegal immigration, with foreigners coming in who are not American and who want to come into this country. And we have to have laws that say, how are we going to treat a million people who want to come in? And it is a reasonable thing for any candidate to say, all right, if we get 1 million people who want to come in, we got to look at them and say, who are we going to let in and who are we not going to let in? And I'm not aware of anything that Trump has said that said, I don't want LGBT people coming in from foreign countries. I haven't heard that. What I have heard is that he does not want illegal immigrants who are already here to stay. He wants anyone who's come here and overstayed their visa or has come across the border illegally, he wants them out and to leave because they're hurting jobs and because they've broken our law. That makes sense to me. I don't think that he's saying that millennials should leave the country. So I think he's trying to say, let's enforce the immigration laws that we have, and let's make sure that we vet anybody who wants to come into America and make sure that they actually want to come in and be assimilated into our American culture. I think that's a great thing.
As the other millennial here, I have to tell you that I mean, Donald Trump really is, kind of a racist.
Kind of.
It's just the facts. I mean,
There's no kind of.
And when we talk about millennials, well, they vote this way, they vote that way. I play World of Warcraft, man. I got to tell you, I know a lot of 18 to 35-year-old people that are voting for Trump, and it's a lot more than you would think. It really is. And there's a lot of little white boys out in the colleges that won't tell you that they're voting for Trump because it's not colorful or whatever, but there are an awful lot of these people, and they do exist. I'm telling you. You can't discount that. They really do exist.
But we're getting aside from the fact that he has a vice presidential candidate who signed a incredibly restrictive religious rights bill. We are talking about a candidate who wants to literally build a wall and divide the continent. We're talking about a candidate who wants to, quote, ban Muslims from coming into this country. I mean...
Okay,
I don't have
Bryce.
a problem with the wall.
Bryce.
You don't have a problem with the wall?
No, I
I've got
don't.
no problem with the wall, and it's.
You don't think-
I have no problem with the wall. I just don't think he's going to
Continent.
build it, and I don't think anybody's going to pay for it.
You guys realize that would probably increase illegal immigration, right?
The wall has been law for over 12 years.
It was
still
just
not
called a
built.
fence
exactly.
before.
It's already law. It's just not being built because the Congress hasn't appropriated the money and hasn't made it happen. It's already law.
Yeah. Well, Mexico's
And-
going to pay for it, but
And as far as the Muslim ban, he wants.
Or not.
in terms of walls, though, you know, they built huge walls around Israel to keep out, you know, insurgent activity. All they do is they dig under the wall. So, I mean, I'm really not very sold on this idea that we can have
You
this.
say just let everybody come in, let open borders.
No, I'm saying don't
And
waste $4
You
trillion building a wall that these people are just going to dig under.
How
I
about
mean, they're doing it now,
with-
and there isn't even a
I
damn
work
wall
with
now.
electronic technology.
make it easier to become an
They
American?
I
already
work with
have
electronic
tunnels They already
technology.
have tunnels in San Diego right now. They've got
I
all
know,
that.
and that's what I'm saying. So why build a wall? They're just going to dig under it.
So why
Okay,
don't we
it's
just make
Rick's
it easier to
turn.
become an American for these people?
Okay.
Well, we should, and you know
Rick's
what? And we
turn.
should streamline the process. We should make the process a little bit
Exactly.
easier.
Exactly.
We should make the process a lot faster.
And why do we not support 11, 12 million people who are here who haven't committed crimes? Violent crimes, let me preference that.
How about this?
Yes,
I have a friend.
I'm glad you
who
said
just.
that. I'm glad you said violent because,
Yeah.
in fact, being here illegally is itself a crime. So,
It's
but we-
I mean,
felony.
yes,
It's
but
a
we
felony.
should we keep the people who have already broken the law, or should we deport the people who are violent offenders? Me, I say the violent offenders get preferential treatment. They got to go first.
And
What
what
you got drug lords, you got drug dealers, you got all kinds of crap. They got to go first.
Followed by all of the rest of them who broke the law to get here. There are a lot of
You're
people-
never going to deport
and I
15
know
million
that
people.
many-
It's not
what
financially
that would
possible.
do to the economy, what
Yes,
that,
it is.
what
It's
that type
easy
of
to
message
do.
does to people. Why would you?
easy to
It's
do.
really not. It's really an idea that's not grounded in reality. I have to
you
tell
want
you,
to know
it's
how
not
to do it? I'll
financially
tell you how to do
possible.
it. It's so easy, and it doesn't cost any more money than we're spending now.
Oh,
You
really?
enforce the yes, or really, and don't be so snotty.
That's ridiculous. I mean, come on.
Okay, do you
Deporting
want
11
to hear
million.
it or not? Do you want to? Let me. You're being educated, you little millennial. You don't know what you're talking
Bryce,
about.
let Susan talk.
Show a little bit of respect instead of being snarky. What you do is you enforce the employment laws that are already on the books, which is you tell every employer that they must abide by the laws already here, which is you hire and prove that you hired American citizens. What will happen is there's a vast under-the-table employment situation where a lot of people have jobs because they're working for cash and because they're here illegally. And it motivates an entire section of our economy. When you explain to all employers that, yes, we're actually going to enforce some of the laws on our books in the federal government, say, yeah, you've got to actually prove that these people that you're paying are American citizens, meaning the employers, will start to breathe heavily, pass out, and what they'll do is they'll say, geez, I got to let these guys go, because they will be fined. It's called enforcing the law that already exists. When enough of these people do not have an incentive to come here for the jobs, when they are not being given welfare and they're not being encouraged to come over here and receive welfare benefits and free schooling and everything else, and when there are no under-the-table jobs, they will leave and go home because they will not have a way to stay. That's the first thing you do.
No, they're going to run into the wall.
Most of them will leave. Pardon me?
When on their way back, they'll run into the wall and they can't leave. Now you trapped them in here.
Oh, you're being so funny. They can go back the way that they can. I mean, you're just being. Aren't we
saying that they came to the border?
You know, that's okay.
Hey.
We can make this about jokes. That's okay. We can
They
do
came to
that.
the border.
Doesn't matter.
Can
That's
I interject
actually-
just a little story here that really pertains to this?
You're next, Daniel, and then it's
I
Rick's
have
turn.
I have a very good friend who just took her citizenship test, passed it with flying colors, and has gone through everything she was supposed to go through to get her citizenship. She's been here legally the whole time. She's done everything above board, and this whole situation pisses her off probably more than it does any of us. She's done everything the way she was supposed to do it, and she sees people not doing it, and it upsets her big time. It needs to, the laws on the books now need to be enforced. We don't need even need new laws. The laws on the
correct.
First, she has done everything the way she was supposed to do it. She has spent, it cost her a lot of money, and she did it. And that's the way it's supposed to be, and that's the way the laws are set up, and that's the way everybody has to do it. The end. That she is very proud. I guarantee you, she knows the United States Constitution and history better than most people out there, because she had to study it. She had to take a test on it.
But Mexico is literally a war-torn country, and we are saying that,
Bryce, it's Rick's turn.
Okay, so backing all the way up to something Bryce took a little shot about, and then it kind of got glossed over. Because when he was talking about immigration and immigration reform, he mentioned how our ancestors came here. When my ancestors came here, there were no immigration laws. If there were, I'm sure they probably would have followed them to get here.
No, I'm talking about before that, about how, we kind of came here and claimed this land ours, our way back ancestors. It might not have been yours.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, Genius.
No,
were there any laws at that point that stopped anybody from coming over here and doing those type of things?
Yeah,
because this
Chinese Exclusion Act.
Really? So yeah. Wait, in like 1700 and something, there was a law that said we couldn't come to another country?
Wait, I'm sorry. First of all, I'm confused where you are. I mentioned the Chinese Exclusion Act. Is that what you're talking about?
No, that's not what I'm talking about. You specifically mentioned that if we're going to talk about immigration, we should go all the way back and talk about when our ancestors came here.
Mine came here in 1714. There wasn't even a country.
There were plenty of nations here. There were Native American nations here,
but we took them their land.
Yeah, exactly. We took them their land.
Did the Native Americans have immigration laws? No, they did not, because things like that didn't exist. This is the part that your side never wants to talk about. Most of our immigration laws are to try to keep from happening now what our ancestors did to them. It's to make sure that we don't have uncontrolled immigration. It's to make sure that we don't have a massive influx of people that suddenly decide they want this land worse than we do, which is exactly what happened here. This is the part that your side never wants to talk about. These laws aren't about excluding people. They're about trying to make sure that we don't have another issue with the people that were the indigenous people being overrun. We are now considered the indigenous people as well as the people that were here before us. And these laws are to protect us, not to exclude other people. That's the point.
Let me just respond then. So when I mentioned the comment, and for some reason I guess it was taken as a joke, but it wasn't, building a wall will literally prevent people from leaving. A big reason...
No, it won't.
No, it won't. No, it won't.
If there's a wall, it's no different than us having the border checkpoints that we have now. There will be ways for people to come in. There will be ways for people to go out. So your entire argument is wrong on its face. And
no, it is not. I would like to get to it. Well, if you'd let me get to it, I'd explain it, but I'm not going to. I keep getting talked over.
Bryce, I'm going to play moderator. You've got 60 seconds to get your point out.
If you make it harder for people to go to and from the border, and this is something that Reagan even talked about, then once people get here and try to make their money to help their family get over here, and they try to go back or whatever, vice versa, they try to go here and there, and it's harder to get through and from the border, well, guess where they're going to choose to stay? It's either here or Mexico. So where do you think they're going to try to stay? They're going to
Actually, most of the people that come across the southern border aren't from Mexico. Most of them are from Panama and
from wherever.
Central America.
And from wherever. They're not going to try to go back home. They're going to try to stay here. And the fact of the matter is that this country, it's insane to me to think that we are going to now deport all these people. I mean, first of all, no. Nobody is going. A citizen of America is going to go and do the work of an illegal immigrant, and I'm here to state that very clearly. Americans will not.
You're really good at mind reading. You should get a job in like Vegas or something.
Well, yeah. Let's go send.
Yeah. How do you know?
Too bad Trump doesn't.
All right, weed killer. Everybody, can it? get back to the debate. This is supposed to be a debate roundtable, not every issue in the world. We can schedule one of these for Saturday. I'll give up some airtime. Now,
yeah, I'm going to actually have to go, so I'm going to say thank you, everyone, for having me. And
all right, Bryce, since you are leaving us, please give your social media and contact information and any other information you'd like to give out.
Absolutely. So, everyone, my name is Bryce Robbins. I'm the host of Opinion Nation. I'm currently trying to do a series of having all these presidential candidates on my show, so tune in every week to hear a different presidential candidate, lesser-known candidates, all the way from Jill Stein to last week's Lynn Kahn talk to me about their policies. You can catch me on Facebook at Bryce Robbins or on Twitter at RobbinsBryce. That's ROBINSBRYCE. Check out my pages. Tune into the show Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and also catch me the hour before that, battling it out with Rick every Saturday, on Finding Common Ground. But I'll see you all then. All right, thank you everybody for having me.
And hey, Bryce. Hey,
yeah.
Bryce.
Yeah.
I wanted to say I listened to your interview with Jill Stein. It was awesome.
Thank you. And if any of you ever want me on your shows to debate or battle or whatever, totally hit me up.
Or have me on
Bryce,
your show.
I'd like
Everybody's
to
welcome
suggest
to my show.
you and Susan battle it out one Saturday. I think that would be fantastic. Now, on that note, you have an outstanding night, and let's see if we can get back to the debates, guys.
All right, bye-bye, everybody.
Okay,
so
Susan.
Since I'm now the only millennial left.
Bill, you've got a minute to make your point, and then it's Susan's turn.
You know what the problem really is with millennials? They're always looking to be sheltered from something, and I don't blame him, because that's sort of how I used to be when I was 19 or 20 years old. I always wanted to be sheltered away from something, because words are evil. And, when you go to college, they teach you this very Kropotkinist kind of crap that, words can induce physical harm on somebody, because, a word can make you sad, and sadness makes you depressed, and on and on and on and on. And, and it's really, really kind of shocking that in the 10 years since I was college age, or so, kids have really gotten to a point where they can't overcome adversity, whether it's language or situations or conflict. I think safe spaces are ridiculous. I think trigger warnings are for children. Look, we live in a grown-up world, and we live in a world that's not necessarily black and white. There's shades of gray and yellow and green in between everything. And, at the end of the day, you have to kind of figure out how to live with other people. And, like I said, the problem that we have sort of gotten into with the Republican Party today, that Bryce was sort of hitting on, but because he's just too damn left, he doesn't really know how to say it, but I'll say it for him. The problem with the Republican Party today is that it confuses racism with challenging leftist authoritarianism, and that's wrong. It absolutely is wrong, and no one here, I hope, will tell me that that's not the case. But that is most certainly the case from my viewpoint with Donald Trump and with his fans. They confuse being boorish and nasty and violent and infantile and disgusting and puerile for fighting some kind of, language policing. And it's not the correct response. And so their response is to go in a very visceral direction and become violent and racist and disgusting. And it absolutely exists, and we shouldn't be afraid to call it what it is, and you should always call a spade a spade. And there are absolutely a lot of Trump's fans that are this way, and we should not be afraid to confront it. But at the same time, we should recognize that not every little verbal transgression is a war crime. But when people say things like, when they point to a black person and they call him a thug, we've sort of gotten to this point where racism
You mean
has
like
done
Hillary
what I
saying
call...
that they're super predators? You mean like Hillary calling them super predators and that they need to be brought to heel, like that, right?
Sure, whatever. And we've sort of gotten to this point where racism is sort of, it's not institutionalized like they say it is, but it's gotten to a point where you know when you see it, but when you say something, people go, "Oh, come on, that's not racism." I go, "Dude, yeah, it kind of is. Like, I know why you said that. Like, you're not fooling me." And they're like, "No. I'm like, racism has sort of gone underground, and it's become very intellectualized now, and it's very odd. But like I said, at the same time, not every word against you is a war crime or racism, but you should know it when you see it, and we're sort of getting to that point where we can't tell the difference anymore, and that's a problem."
Well, yeah, kind of like when the guy on Twitter with the swastika as his Abby says something to me, and I say, "I just don't deal with you racists," and he goes, "Oh, the racist card." Well, yeah, you've got a swastika in your Abby, and you've got the Auschwitz gate across your header. What am I supposed to call you?
Yeah.
And you just called me a hook nose, and I'm not Jewish.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say I'm probably the only Jew on this call. Good.
Rick might be Jewish.
That's a safe bet.
All right.
Rick is
First
probably Jewish.
of all, when I see the Auschwitz gates, depending on the context, I can be offended or not. When I see a swastika, I am offended. So I'd find one of those images offensive, the other one not so much, because the other one makes me remember. The Auschwitz gates make me remember what happened and makes me want to say never again. The swastika? Yeah, no. That's offensive.
But Jesse, I'll give you one example where you would not be offended if you saw a swastika, because as you just rightly acknowledged, it's all in context. What if you saw a swastika on a flag in a big bucket of urine? How about that?
I would
actually saying context matters. Okay?
Yes, but I'm not sure. I'd probably be offended by that art display anyway, just because I would find the bucket of urine more offensive as offensive as the swastika.
Exactly. But my point is of course that almost everything must be taken in context. Almost everything, and we as free people, especially because we cherish free speech so much, we have to take a pause and just remember that we have this gift of freedom, and we can't abuse it by censoring it. We have to look at context. We have to look at all these things, and to use a sweeping broad brush stroke and say something is always offensive, regardless of a content. It's just, I know we get sometimes our passions get away with us, is all I'm saying. But anyway, we've gone so far afield from the debate and how these two people performed last night for the American people, but I'd like to really get back to it, because I found some interesting stressors that I saw with Hillary. She looked stressed. She wasn't doing as well, and when she realized that she wasn't doing as well, her tone changed a little bit. Did anyone else pick up on those things? Did anybody see how she changed over the course of the hour and a half?
All right, I'm going to call the batting order to respond to that. I'm going to call the batting order to respond to that. We're going to go with Daniel, Rick, and Bill, and then it's back to Susan to bring up another point to keep everybody on track. And everybody is going to have a minute or two to respond, because it is getting late, and I don't know about the rest of you, but my eyelids are getting a little droopy, so let's try and wrap up a few more solid points about this debate.
Oh, I will agree with Susan there. I mean, I think Hillary got a little more shrill towards the end. And also want to kind of correct myself a little earlier when I kind of said that I don't feel anybody won. It's more of a feeling of nobody has won me over. I think Trump probably won the debate. I agree with that. Nobody's won me over at this point. I'm still 2 debates in and a vice presidential debate in, and I'm still not voting for either one of them. But I do agree with you. I think by the end, I think Hillary was getting a little frustrated. She was getting a little more shrill. She was getting that Hillary yelling thing going again. I'll totally give that to you and to Trump. I mean, I think Trump got her a little, definitely by the end of the debate.
Your turn, Bill?
Oh, I think Trump lost the debate. I think he had too much to prove. And what?
Give us examples why. What causes you to believe that? So that you get specifics. So when people are listening, they'll say, "Oh yeah, I see what you're talking about."
I listened to the debate for an hour and a half, and I don't think I learned anything new. I don't think I really heard anything particularly specific from Trump. Like I said earlier, I mean, he just sort of talks in sound bites and quips, and it's not real obvious that he knows what the hell he's talking about. He just kind of says something. He talks in a sound bite, and then he just kind of moves on and just kind of banters, and that might work really great on TV, but I mean, when people ask you, how are you going to fix the economy, and he says one thing and then starts talking about George Soros for 3 minutes. I mean, I don't feel like that there was any specifics, and I think that he had a larger mission today, which was, to kind of regain people's trust and whatever because of what happened in the last 72 hours, and I'm not real convinced that he did that. I'm just not. Not that I particularly think Hillary was all that great either. I just think that, she looked a little bit more, on point.
Rick?
Okay. I don't know. For once, I have to say that, I don't know. I mean, I still don't necessarily think there was a clear winner, clear loser. But I do think that Trump did a little bit better job tonight making points. Some of what scared me was the back and forth in the beginning again, because it seemed like it was more like a couple of kindergartners throwing Play-Doh at each other than an actual debate. I think towards the end, I think he got her rattled pretty well. I just, again, kind of what Dan was saying, nobody's won me over at this point. So when I look at it, I'm colored in my decisions about who won the debate based on how I feel about the candidates. And in my opinion, as I've said pretty consistently for several months now, as far as I'm concerned, neither one of them should be eligible to be president because each of them has enough things and skeletons in their closet that we don't know who all knows about these skeletons and who may wind up making them do things later based on what information they have on them. There are certain things that should exclude people from being in public office when we know for a fact they have a laundry list of things they've done wrong. And the simple fact of the matter is we know this about both of them. And that scares me. The fact that the American people have so lost touch with having things like morals or even clear guidelines of what a person is or isn't supposed to do. And I understand that maybe I'm old. Maybe I'm part of the old guard now. Maybe I just need to go find a corner and go sit in it until somebody throws some dirt over me. I don't know. But looking at these two and watching the back and forth tonight, the only thing that I can say again is I really feel like no matter which one of these two wins, America's going to lose because, look, I know everybody keeps talking about how Hillary's definitely going to do this, but Trump says that he's going to support justices that will uphold the Constitution. Look, Trump's probably never even read the Constitution. From some of the languages that he's used during debates and round tables and campaign speeches and everything else, I'm almost positive that I can make that assertion because of certain things that he has said. And my other problem with this is, no matter how much he says he wants to put people up like Scalia, one of the first people he mentioned was his pro-abortion, I think it's his sister. But I'm getting really tired, so my memory's not.
Can I just throw something out real quick? Because something kind of popped just in the news just like 10 seconds ago that I just want to mention. Kind of related to this. Kellyanne Conway, Trump's campaign manager, apparently was just talking a roll call, and she's claiming that upwards of a dozen members of Congress have made unwanted sexual advances towards her, but she won't name who they are, and she says that they know who they are.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yep.
But I can throw something at you too, Rick, when we talk about just improprieties and everything else, and you and I know, are both old enough to remember, and I'll just throw this out there, a boat called Monkey Business.
Ah, yes.
I mean, that destroyed him. I mean, and look at where we are now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I got to echo that, you know, I know, I think, I forgot exactly.
That wasn't that long ago. I remember Monkey Business. It was Gary Hart, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Okay.
What's that?
Just checking. No, I'm not that young.
Bill was just checking his political facts with Susan.
I think that I think Rick said it, which is, you know, you don't like any of them, and neither of them won you over, and that's because they are both so flawed, and they both have very high negatives, and that, I mean, I think we started at the very beginning of this about that it is lamentable in some ways that our republic has come down to this. I've often tried to think about, well, why? And I think it is the rise of the reality TV show. It's the rise of the media. I believe that we have these two candidates precisely because of the media. It's precisely because they love the scandal. They love the hype, the reality show, they don't anymore. And I think Trump is a very interesting character because he started off as, you know, a businessman, then kind of as a reality show actor kind of a person. And that is what is his stock in trade and has now catapulted him to become the challenger to Hillary. And all of this is because media, I'm wondering now, I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head. I wonder, though, that the increasing role of the media, especially in going to the gutter, in always using, I mean, for instance, in the 1950s, it was Father Knows Best, and now it's, you know, the latest show is, you know, Dad's a dunce and usually out of the house, and Mom's raising the kids, or it's this fractured family, or, you know, 2 men and a baby, kind of it's very it's not the same type of shows and the same type of values. For better or for worse, I've recently called them the propagandistas. They are now promoting kind of a state agenda. They are promoting their view of what should be government and what should be culture, and they're ramming it down our throats 24/7. It's hard to find a television show on TV that is, I don't know, suitable for my kids. Because everything's got, you know, there's at least a couple 4-letter words in there. There's always a little bit of a gratuitous splash of something we shouldn't see, and it's very hard to police it, and it is invasive. And so I'm not surprised that we end up with, a reality star. You know, you're fired. I'm not surprised that we have that running for president, and I can't say I'm thrilled about it. And I'm not surprised that we have Hillary, because she has been on the inside forever, and they are, you know, political royalty, the Clintons. And so it's the media has given us this and has also stoked the fires and created the situation, because I think the media has lost its way and forgotten its role. It's supposed to be the fourth pillar of government. It's supposed to be the watchdog. It's supposed to be the investigative branch that digs out and really finds the truth, whatever it is, and reports on it. Not gives it a spin, not gives it an opinion, not gives it an angle, and then, sends it over to, Disney or Comcast and say, hey, let's make a show about it. They're not supposed to be that way. So I think we have been betrayed by the media. And to an extent, we are stuck with the two chosen actors now in the grand debate, as I've alluded to before. They're set up, and the media is happy either which way it goes, really. I think more of the media people in it will prefer Hillary. And there's most recently an interview, I'm a little bit off topic, but there was an interview she was giving on the plane after her first debate in which her eyes crossed, but the people who were filming it did a very, very quick chroma key edit to mask the fact that her eyes were crossing in the debate. So we have evidence that the media is not just helping Hillary. I mean, not just reporting on Hillary, she's actively helping and covering up things. So I think we've got these two candidates because of the media, because they're no longer doing the job that they're supposed to do, which is watch and report.
All right,
I think
Susan?
you're partially right. I think you're partially right, Susan, but I think it's both parties too, and literally, I mean,
yes.
All three parties. I mean, I was a libertarian until just a little while ago. They disgusted me too. And I even saw something during the debate when Aleppo came up. A friend of mine had a post that said Gary Johnson was watching the debate and wondered why they're talking about dog food. I mean, it's all a joke. Everything's a joke. I mean,
yes.
I sat there and said, "Oh my God, the Libertarian Party actually got on the ballot in all 50 states this year, and then they plugged in Gary Johnson again." It's like, what? Why? I mean, it's the media and it's the parties. The Republican Party has no spine. It really has no spine.
Oh, I agree.
Even though I don't like Trump, watching people that have endorsed Trump back out, it tells me they have no backbone. There's no backbone in the Republican Party at all.
Yeah,
None.
but if they
There's
stayed
no
and
backbone.
continued with endorsing him, then you and I would just call them pervo enablers. They're kind of damned if they do and damned if they don't at this point. They made their bed, now they should lay in it, I guess. But
yes,
yeah,
the GOP totally owns the Trump candidacy because they made sure that they played the angles. They flooded the field, 17 candidates, and the moderates in the party, they want to continue the establishment. They want to continue the business as usual, and they made a calculated decision that we don't want some of the more conservative elements to win at all costs. Better to throw the race to Hillary. And they've even come out and said that they would actually be able to work better with Hillary. So yes, the parties are for sure to blame, but that's what the media is supposed to be guarding against. The media is supposed to be the watchdog.
And don't forget Sean Hannity. Call Sean Hannity.
Oh, well, what I'm saying is we don't like either of the choices we've been given, and I don't even like the fact that we've been given them. And unfortunately, well, maybe fortunately, I'm hoping that the millennial generation will see this and become as disgusted as you say they are, and actually engage and start participating in elections and in the political process so that we can change this. It can happen very, very quickly if people engage and begin to be educated. There's more information out there, and if you want to, study and research things, you have a better opportunity now than any other time in history with all of the internet and the ability to find things and find information. And there's so many different media, conservative and non-traditional type media opportunities out there to find information. I'm hoping that the millennial generation doesn't just stay on their iPods and their iPhones and just play, apps and games and do Pokemon Go all day long. I hope that they engage and start seeing that they're being manipulated and played by the media, and that they start paying attention to what people actually say. Again, neither of these candidates is ideal by any stretch, and I'm not happy with them. But at the end of the day, each of us has a responsibility to vote for something that would be, I guess, the least bad or the best of all bad options. It's like taking the SAT and which of these answers is the best one, even though they're all kind of bad. We have to do something. You cannot check out. You cannot, and that is something else I think the media does. I think the media is out there to try to depress us and to try to make us feel like, oh, it doesn't matter, Hillary's going to win anyway, or Trump's going to win anyway, or whatever the line is of the day. And they hammer us with polls and different things to depress and disorient and to make us all say, I'm not going to bother anyway, check out, so that you depress the vote that way. I just wonder how much of this is a coordinated idea to get people not to engage in their government, not to participate in the crafting of freedom. I don't know. It bothers me that we're stuck with these people.
Well, that's why it bugged me, and why I will no longer call myself a libertarian, is that I can guarantee you right now, if the Libertarian Party had nominated Austin Peterson, he would be on that debate stage. I guarantee it, because by following him, I watched as Rubio dropped out, and then as Cruz dropped out, as every candidate dropped out, his numbers grew. He was doing Facebook casts every weekend, and the numbers were growing. I watched them every weekend, and it was all Cruz supporters and Rubio supporters. They weren't going to Johnson. They were going to Peterson. And we would have had 3 people on that debate stage, and I can tell you right now that Austin Peterson would have owned both of them in the debate. He would have absolutely owned both of them, because he owned the libertarian debates handily. There wasn't even, but the Libertarian Party didn't like him because he was too conservative, which just blew my mind. It's like, so you're going to take the guy that could probably get that 15 to 20% and make the debate stage, and you're going to shove him aside, you're going to plug Gary Johnson back in again. It was almost like they were just saying, we're good with Hillary. It really was. And I Austin Peterson's doing what he's supposed to do, and he's supporting Gary Johnson, but I see a split coming up in the Libertarian Party. I think the Libertarian Party is either going to get their act together or they're going to go away, which is they've gotten themselves on the ballot in 50 states.
All right, on that note, I'm going to butt in because here, for those of us on the East Coast, as most of us are, Eastern Central Time, it's getting rather late. So I'd like to go around the horn, 1 minute to wrap up, and 1 minute to give your social media and other contact information. And then, Susan, I'm going to ask you to hang with me for just a few moments after that. All right, let's start with Rick, who's been the quietest. And Rick, you get 2 minutes to wrap up because you've been quiet.
I don't really need 2 minutes to wrap up because I've been saying the same thing every time I've given a chance to talk. But, I mean, like I said, nothing's changed for me. I mean, look, I know everybody wants to make excuses for both of them, but I'm going to say the same thing tonight that I've been saying on Twitter. Moral equivalency be damned. We're talking about 2 different candidates that in one way or another have either enabled or actually possibly even done some sort of predatory behavior. I have problems with both of them. That hasn't changed for me. I think overall, if I'm going to give anybody any points for tonight, it probably still has to go to Trump, at least for tonight, because he got in a couple of zingers, and let's face it, that's all anybody's looking for anymore, is who got in the best one line of the night. And unfortunately, I think the focus group that Luntz did afterwards probably actually illustrates that point better than anything. Because when nobody really got any headshots in on the first one, Hillary won it hands down because she got in at least 1 or 2 good one-liners. Tonight it was Trump's turn, so he turned it around. He got the second debate. We'll have to wait to see what happens on the third one. But overall, again, nothing's changed for me. I think overall the American people lose, and I'm really disappointed because, again, I think for the first time in my lifetime, no matter who wins, we lose because both of them have so much dirt on them that somebody's going to be able to use it, and we're not going to see it coming until it's too late. As far as where you can see me or contact me, I'm on here live every Monday through Friday morning from 11 to 2 on KLRN Radio. Also available on various syndication points. I'm not going to take the time to list all of them here. And you can keep up with me on Twitter. It's the easiest one to keep up with me on. My phone's always in my pocket. It's AOTR_host.
All right. Thank you very much, Rick. And that brings us to his partner on Robinson and Wright, Dan Wright.
Well, I pretty much just wrapped up with what I just said. That's pretty much how I feel. I came back to this. I came back to the Republican Party for this election because I really thought they had it together, and they obviously don't. Changed my voter registration back to independent. And like Rick said, nobody has me convinced at all. I'm in North Carolina, and it looks like North Carolina is going to go blue either way, so it really doesn't matter. I will throw a vote out there for, I don't know yet, but at this point it won't be either one of the major party candidates. Neither of the debates, none of the three debates have won me over at all. And as far as social media goes, I mean, really, my Facebook is private, and you can find me on Twitter at 1911G_fan. And like Rick, my phone's always in my pocket, and I'm usually getting in trouble and have been shadow banned like 5 times in the last 2 weeks. So you may not see my tweets. You may have to actually go to my timeline to see them.
All right. Thank you, Dan. And with that, brings us to Bill. Social media contacts and wrap-up points.
I don't know. Whatever Rick said, that was good. You can find me on Twitter at Defend Wall Street. I don't know. I just agree with everything Rick said. I mean, it's, pretty much what he said.
All right.
I have a really bad hangover now, so whatever Rick said, that's good. I like that.
Susan?
Well, I thought something shifted tonight. The first debate, Hillary had scored all of the points. Tonight, something shifted. I think we saw Donald Trump being much more disciplined, much more focused and serious, as though he's really taking the race seriously. I think we saw him pacing and walking about, looking very focused and like a lion, and with real, true intensity. And he stayed on message for the most part. He still had some of his signature rambling, but I saw a phenomenally improved performance by Mr. Trump. It affected Hillary because in the beginning she was calm and cool and she had a smirk on her face, but as he continued and he didn't take all of the bait that she was throwing out there after he had calmly answered and apologized for his locker room talk, and as he continued to go back to the issues, and as he continued to own the press in the room too, he controlled them a good degree of the time. She started to falter. She started to know that she was losing the debate. She wasn't able to connect with her points. She became shrill. She started looking a little tired and a little unfocused to me, and started sounding bad. So this, I believe that this, from a debating standpoint and a visual optics, I'm sure that Trump won it. But also from just a gut feeling of as an American mom, I want somebody to make sure that our laws are obeyed. And I loved the fact that he came and said, you know what, I am going to prosecute you for those 33,000 emails that you've deleted and that you bleach bit, and you're afraid of me because you're going to go to jail. That resonates with people because we want laws to be applied to all people, especially the elite at the top. So I think he really improved his performance. She came away rattled. I think he actually ended on, his ending was superb when he very genuinely complimented her on being a fighter and never giving up, and that she was a strong fighter. That resonated well, and her attempt to kind of say, well, I like his children, kind of a little bit of a backhanded compliment there. It didn't work. He carried the day on this in his performance. He was much more disciplined on the facts, and I think you're going to see a bump in the polls for him as the polls come in tight. And I think this did him a world of good, and it might have actually swayed some of the more conservatives among us, like myself, thinking, well, gee, maybe we actually have a guy who will do what he says and will take this seriously. So I was pleasantly surprised by Trump's performance tonight, and I was glad to see Hillary stumbling because I don't like her.
All right, and your social media contacts?
I forgot. I'm sorry, I forgot to. I'm a little new at this. I guess you can follow me on Twitter at Real Susan Swift. You can find my website at susanswift.net, and I write regularly at politichicks.com. If you go to my website, susanswift.net, you can connect to me on Facebook and Twitter, and also find all of the articles that I write regularly for Politichicks. So susanswift.net is the best way to find me, and at Real Susan Swift on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram.
All right. Well, I'm going to wrap up by reading another couple of Frank Luntz's tweets. The pundits are saying Trump's special prosecutor line was the worst part of the debate, but the people are saying it was the best. To be clear, the odds against Trump are high. He won the debate, but Hillary may still have the lead, but she doesn't have the election wrapped up. And on that note, I am Jesse from Jesse's POV. You can find me on Twitter at Jesse's POV. You can find me on the internet at jessespov.com. I also have another show called Jesse's Coffee Shop, and the website for that is jessescoffeeshop.com. On that note, I'd like to thank on behalf of KLRN Radio, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. Thank you, and have an outstanding night.